Hi, and welcome to Sacred Foundations January card pull and reading. Welcome New Year 2022. And as we get ready to kick off, I'm Julia Frainer with Jill Chesrow, and we just wanted to remind ourselves and you that the whole intention behind this is to bring forth the most beneficial insights and knowing for each one of us, those who come across this page, this reading. It is by no mistake that you do. It is all for your highest and greatest good as we each build our sacred foundation for January 2022. Jill, it's always so nice to be with you, friend. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to be here. Excited for 2022. Here it's going to be a much better year. So yay. Very, very grateful for that. Yeah, so glad to be here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well too. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm hopeful. I love that we dwell in endless possibilities, and I love that we co-create together. Not just you and I, but those who join, who watch, who view us, and we co-create with these amazing oracle decks. So yeah, excited.
Yes, and for all the people that are newer to the Sacred Foundations work that we do, we did record a little intro video, just kind of introducing ourselves and telling you a little bit about the two decks that we use. So we're not going to do that, but the link is below if you want to take a peek at that. And we are going to jump in. We pulled the cards ahead of time, so we got centered. We gave thanks that the information coming through is, again, as Julia said, for those that are here and come across this video. So what is our theme for the month of January 2022? And what is that way to develop a sacred foundation and or deepen it? All right, Jules, did you want to start?
I do, and I will. So I pulled cards 1, 3, and 5, and Jill pulled 2 and 4. We do what's called a sacred cross. And the first card, since I got to pull it, comes with a little bit of a background story before I show it, is because Jill and I were talking about, let's pull the cards first because it gives us time without, being in the recording to actually kind of let the card land and hear any insights that may want to come as a whole prior to this recording. So we were talking about why that came up, and Jill was mentioning how she had some additional insights on one of the cards from December. And as I'm shuffling, a card fell out, and I said, well, we'll use that for the first card. And it happens to be waiting. So I love what Jill offered for this in the Cross of Truth. This is the theme, the focus card, the first card. So waiting it is. Do we want to pull all the cards or do we want to chat first, Jill? Do you want to just line them out?
Let's do one at a time and then we'll pull it all together at the end.
Okay, so I'm going to, as a focus card, I'm going to let Jill take off with this because it ties in with last month. So Jill, if you want to just share.
Sure. So Julia and I pulled an end of the year reading for December, partly because we did the video so late in the month, there was no purpose to doing a theme for December. But one of the cards that came up was the waiting card. And what I didn't add in that last month's video was, waiting means different things to different people. And waiting is not necessarily just inaction. It's that it can be like that pause and just kind of waiting for your inner alignment to align with the outer things to line up in place or whatever. But waiting doesn't necessarily just mean inactivity. It could be preparing. So a simple way to say that it's a smidgen of a hokey analogy, but I think most people will get it. If you really want to get a new car and you want to manifest, most people are familiar with manifesting in the physical world. If you want to manifest a new car, but you don't, maybe necessarily have the finances, or, just different things need to line up and you need to wait. You can prepare in that waiting scenario. You could clean out the garage. You could get the space ready for a new vehicle to come into your life. You could clean out your existing car, if you're doing a trade-in or something like that. And again, that might sound like a super silly thing, but preparing for what you are calling in or aligning with is really important on many different metaphysical levels. But sometimes we forget, even, people, I have this joke, I ask people, Julia and I ask people, do you feel like you're awake and you got this life journey in the bag and everything's great? Or do you feel like you're awake, but you keep dozing off? I'm in the dozing off realm. Julia, how about you?
Yes, I'm in the dozing off realm sometimes too, most of the time.
So sometimes it's just like, oh, I want to experience this, and this in my life. But sometimes I forget, okay, wait a minute, what can I prepare in the physical world, right? So that's where waiting can have two different things. It could actually be you're trying too much and you need to just take a pause and just wait. And other times it's like in that waiting, you could be preparing things. So that's what I wanted to say. So waiting / preparing is a theme for January. Jules?
Yeah, and some additional insights that have just been coming through for me on this being our waiting, being our focus, our theme for January is I keep hearing, and I do this a lot when I'm doing readings, is I hear songs. So the waiting is the hardest part, right? I think that's Tom Petty. And it is, we tend to get really uncomfortable with the waiting. The image that comes to me is that toe tapping and that hurry up kind of, let's get this going. And part of that in this theme, this focus, is a bypassing. And I think that we're at a point now where we can't bypass like we used to. Like it's just going to be more and more difficult to do any bypassing. And so waiting can be very difficult, but if you breathe through it, you're in that patience and you're following what Jill has just said. And that knowing that it's going to be okay. You can get through the discomfort. You can breathe with it. And it really feels strong to say, especially when it comes to your personal sovereignty and autonomy, to be in that focus of waiting, patience, knowing that it's not dead time, but it's valuable time.
Yes, very valuable time. The second card represents how you really feel about the first card. And then it can also represent hopes and fears. And I just want to say just a tiny minor correction for the name of this spread. Is actually called the Cross of Truth. And I did not create this spread. Somebody else did, Josephine, and I can't remember her last name. So shout out to the person that created this spread. But it is a spread that I use a lot for myself personally and my private clients. So I just wanted to say that really quick. So the second card is Sister Moon. And the artist that created the image for this card and the message, she had the keyword of flow. So sometimes when Sister Moon comes up, we look at the imagery, we look at the color of the card, we look at the name of the card, and then look at the artist message. So when Sister Moon comes up for me, a lot of times I'll go with flow. So think about it. So the first card, waiting, the theme for 2022 for January is that preparing and waiting. And then the hope is that you move into flow. The fear is, am I going to move into flow, right? But really, so what the second card is telling us is, I feel, is that while there may be, because it kind of looks a wee bit like a mountain here. Got a nasty glare here. Sorry, guys. A little bit of a mountain. So sometimes with this waiting, it could just kind of seem like you're not getting anywhere, but you're either aligning on the inner world and or the outer world in some way, shape, or form. And then you're going to move into flow. And then, when the moon comes up, that's Julia's specialty. So I'm excited to hear what she's going to add to about having the moon in there as well. So, Jules?
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. So the first thing that came to me when this card came up in the hopes, fears, the feeling is that the moon is that inner emotional feeling part of us. And when I spoke about co-creating, I'm really feeling deeper and deeper into co-creating with the lunar and solar cycles. And so that really spoke to me, Sister Moon. We jumped into the new year with a new moon yesterday. It was 10:33 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time for me. So we're still in this new moon window. And the new moon is all about that restfulness, being in that pause, in that waiting, that point there, you just kind of rest with it and start to get really dreamy. So for me, this was so poignant that Luna, Sister Moon, reached down and said, include me in this as you kick off 2022 with this. And how can each one of us who are wanting to be in flow with the natural rhythms, the natural cycles, with our own natural movement. I mean, a woman's body, I'm going to just speak for a woman's body follows the cycle of the moon. Every 28 days there's a menstruation. And for those of us that are beyond that, I still sense my own menstruation, my own cycle, my own flow. And as I have been working with the moon, I find more and more insights come in to that innerness of who I am. So I just thought this was a perfect, most fitting, as they always are, right? I don't know if I'm ever going to get beyond the idea that this is always so magical and mystical when these happen, and each time it is. So yeah, I thought it was a perfect alignment for our hopes, fears, and our insights.
All right. So our helpful energy card is a Gaia Calling. So just going off of, intuition, which is a good thing when you're doing a card reading, is that there is this call, right? Gaia, Earth, our Earth Mother, the soul of the planet, is calling us to be present, to awaken, to really, and this, again, it can mean a couple different things depending on where you are on building and deepening your sacred foundation. But there's a wake up call. There really is. So how often here's a great question for you, for all of us. How often do you listen? How often do you take that pause to hear what we're going to talk about inner wisdom and towards the end of the reading? Actually, it really ties in nice to this. But basically it's time to take a pause and to listen to your inner wisdom, to the universal love, to Gaia herself. There's a message here, and that message is always being broadcast to us. The question is, are we listening? So are we listening? I want you to, if you take anything away from this, it's going to be, are you listening? Jules?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I love that. Yes. And I just, the thing that came up to me is, waiting is a very, looks foresty, and she's on a tree stump right here. So there's a lot of nature, a lot of earth, a lot of Gaia energy in the first card. Then I spoke about, and Jill spoke about, Sister Moon. So there's a lot of galactic energy here. But Jill brought up that this body looks like a mountain, right? So there's, again, we've got that connection between heaven and earth, the celestial and the earthly. And then this too, Gaia Calling, we have, you have the trees, but you also have the night and the glowing moon. And so when I mentioned during the second card that aligning, being in flow with the lunar and solar cycles, I think is really what's being called here right now. That energy of aligning yourself, finding your true north, and being in co-creation with Earth, Gaia, and the moon, Selene, is so, so valuable at this time. That energy can be very helpful. And yes, listening. So when you are in flow, as Jill invited us to be in flow, to have that patience in the waiting and to find yourself in the flow, you'll begin to hear the subtle voice, the subtle sounds, the subtle nudges, the esoteric language that Gaia and the heavens have for each one of us. It just will happen. And you will find I believe, as we traverse not just January 2022, but all of 2022, that being in connection with Gaia, with Mama Earth, will bring so much helpful energy as we traverse along.
Thanks,
you.
Jill. All right, so the obstacle energy card is trust. Isn't this an adorable card? I love this card. So trust as an obstacle can go through, can mean that you're not trusting yourself. You're not trusting the messages that you're receiving. And are you not trusting it because you don't feel worthy? Are you not trusting it because you listened to what you thought was an inner calling or a message and it didn't turn out the way you want? So you lost that trust in yourself. So is it trust that you don't feel supported on this journey? It'll be beneficial for you to reflect on what or who are you not trusting and how is it impacting you in deepening your sacred foundation. So, and I'm just going to throw up comfort because I'm hearing the word comfort. And if, when you see the little kitty snuggling with the dog here, there's that level of comfort. So is there anything in your life that is uncomfortable? Most people have something that is a little uncomfortable in their life. It could be a relationship that feels uncomfortable, or it could be, a mattress that feels uncomfortable, or a chair that feels uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing. It could be something little, but it's uncomfortable. So why do you have that uncomfortable thing in your life? And do you trust yourself enough to move to a different level of comfort? Because that's going to potentially shift a lot of things and really activate this flow that's available. Julia?
So good, Jill. Thank you. Yeah, as I look at the card, I just want to bring up again, you have a lot of earth energy here, the leaves, and then you have the animal beings. So you have spirit beings, animal beings, mineral beings, all are there for us, right? As I was speaking about that esoteric language and that listening, don't neglect plant, animal, mineral. They too are speaking with us and wanting to co-create with us. The thing that's really coming up for me in the obstacle and with trust, I think, Jill, you really hit on trust and comfort. So the only other aspect that I would bring in is play. This card is so playful to me. And so part of when we get into, or we're feeling obstacles, when we're feeling that we're resisting and we're holding on, sometimes just to let go and play. And play could be as simple as buying a little 50-cent bottle of bubbles and going outside and blowing bubbles. It could be splashing in a mud puddle. It could be just coloring, play, whatever play is for you. Adding that in when you're feeling an obstacle kind of loosens up the body. Maybe a 5-minute dance party for yourself. It loosens you up that you can break through any obstacles that may be in your way. So trust your inner wisdom your inner child, that if it says go blow bubbles when you're having this really difficult moment, go blow bubbles, right?
I love that. Thank you, Julia. So what's coming to mind for me for these last two cards may be a little bit different than how you want to present how they came. But since you are the one that pulled the two cards, I would love to invite you to go first if you choose. Otherwise, I will. It's up to you.
I'll go first, and then I know your insight is great. So yeah, 5 cards, but I pulled, well, the card that wanted to be pulled for the 5th card, and 5th card is the outcome or advice in this thread, is Pathway to Inner Gold. And this card seems to come up a lot. I seem to pull it often. And I was like, I feel like there's one more to go with this. And so we agreed that we would just have a companion card, and it was Inner Sage. And I have to giggle because when you're Pathway to Inner Gold, you're finding your inner sage. And this kind of goes back to what Jill was saying earlier, in that the question that we ask about, are you fully awake and you got this in the bag? Or are you falling back asleep? Are you, maybe you're Rip Van Winkle, right? This pathway to inner gold is always happening. We're always going there. We're always going deeper and deeper. And it matters not at what point you are on the inner gold. What matters that you continue. And inner gold, I believe, and I've mentioned this, and Jill will share her insights, leads us to our inner sage, that inner wise woman. So, or man, the inner wise sage. When it comes to, trust and play, when I brought in play, allowing your inner child and your inner sage to come together at any point in your life will always be a pathway to inner gold. So, Jill, your insights.
I can't remember if Pathway to Inner Gold also came up for the wrapping up December off the top of my head. I want to say it did, but I could be wrong there. So as far as the way that these two cards have emerged, I feel like there is a certain percentage of the people watching this that really going within is, it's always important, right? And we saw that as far as some of the other cards go. But this to me is a healing card. We've got the color of the chakras, we've got the black here. So, is there any shadow work that wants to be looked at? Or is there any chakra alignment that needs to be done? And how do you align your chakras? So many different wonderful ways. Julia, you have a course, I think, on aligning chakras. I don't know how often you run that, or how you're going to release that in 2022, but I know that Julia does a lot of work with the chakras specifically, and then frequency work, and there's all different types of ways to work with the chakra system, and some of it goes incredibly deep in the shadow work. So as an answer outcome advice card, is there anything within the chakra system, for those who are familiar with chakra work and have worked on that in the past, what chakra comes up for you intuitively? If we look at the color of this card specifically, it's the solar plexus chakra, and that's, about personal power and stuff like that. So you could look at the different layers of the chakras and see which one stands out the most for you. So that is important for some of the people watching this. All of us, but to some of us a little bit more than others. For those that really have been doing their work and showing up on a regular basis, deepening your relationship with your inner sage is really calling to you right now, right? So let me just say that again. So, half of the people are maybe being called to go a little bit deeper with their chakra alignment. For those who do that work on a regular basis, deepening your relationship and hearing your inner sage is really important. Both people, no matter which one you identify with more, is going to ultimately get to really activating and deepening the relationship with the inner sage and hearing the message that the universe has for you at this time. And it's a beautiful thing. And this journey, and I say this all the time, it can suck at times. Shit happens. Life can be hard. It's not all sunshine and roses. I think it will be one day. It's not most people's experiences right now. And that doesn't mean that you're failing or you're doing something wrong or whatever. But how can you tune deeper into your inner wisdom? Build your sacred foundation. So when life does dip a little bit, you've got that firm foundation. So to me, there really is some insight here to actively work on, some reflection to do, to just kind of sit with the message and what comes up for you personally. And I'll Julia and I will, include a little bit of information in the, what's that spot called? Underneath the video, Jules? The description?
The description area.
Yeah, we'll
place
just have some
below.
reflection. We'll
You'll
have
find-
some reflection thoughts in there for you, as just a kind of reminder. But we invite you to maybe watch this video twice, take a little bit of notes, see what makes the most sense for you. But really, are you listening is one of the key things that I pulled out of this. But it's the answer outcome advice card is awesome. You either have a little bit more healing work or a little bit chakra alignment to do, or just really creating that space to tune in and listen to your inner sage.
Mm-hmm.
Final words, Julia?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jill. As you were speaking, I think we did pull this last month because we just jumped right in with frequency work and meditation. And I typically do the meditation just like intuitively, whatever comes to me as we're going. And if I remember correctly, we kind of did a through our chakra system. So yeah, so I guess what I'm bringing up is that this work that we're offering, that Jill and I offer, is so incredibly powerful. And so maybe jumping back and reviewing at least the meditation from last month, and then doing a little bit of the journaling prompt, or just sitting with some of the questions that Jill has just offered. And as she said, invited you to watch this a couple of times, may really catapult you in deeper as we prepare in another week or two to do the meditation and frequency work. So thank you so much, Jill. Wonderful.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody that is watching this video. We look forward to connecting with you. If you have any specific questions, feel free to, ask us in the comments below. Keep it nice and kind. And otherwise, there will be links to our individual pages or websites, and you can reach out to us in that way. So, all right, everyone, happy 2022, happy January. We will see you at the end of the month. Bye-bye.